In this tutorial, we'll learn how to use parameters in notebooks and job runs in Oracle AI Data Platform. Parameters are values that can be passed into, used by, and updated by notebooks. They can also influence job runs when used in if-else tasks. Parameters are useful when running notebooks programmatically and building reusable workflows. In this scenario, I want to create and populate a catalog with data, and then analyze that data in a second notebook. I'll use parameters to define object names and control whether the analysis runs. In my first notebook, I will retrieve job level parameters. These are values defined at the job level and passed into the notebook at runtime. I'll use the getParameter function to retrieve values like catalog name, schema name, and table name. If a parameter isn't provided, a default value is used. I'll then concatenate these parameter values to create a fully qualified table name that I'll use throughout the notebook. Next, I'll define task-level parameters using setTaskValue that I'll pass to downstream tasks including ingestion status, loaded row count, and target table, and I'll set their default values. I'll then create a catalog and schema using the parameter values pulled into the notebook. Next, I'll generate data and write it to the target table. After writing the data, I'll validate the ingestion. If rows exist in the table, I'll mark the status as success. Otherwise, it's marked as failure. Once the ingestion is complete, I'll update the task-level parameters with the ingestion status and the number of rows loaded, then print out these values along with a preview of the table. In my second notebook, I'll reference the same job-level parameters. I'll also retrieve task-level parameters from the previous task. Because task-level parameters are tied to the task that created them, I must reference the correct task name when retrieving them. I'll then use these parameters to control logic. If ingestion was not successful, the notebook skips analysis. Now I'll look at how these notebooks and parameters work in the workflow. From my Workflows page, I'll open my job, where I've defined job-level parameters such as catalog, schema, and table names. Here I have a notebook task named ingest data, which runs the notebook that creates and populates the catalog, pulling in the job-level parameters and setting task-level parameters based on the results. I've also configured an if-else task that checks the ingestion status from the ingest data task, using task-based syntax to determine whether the ingestion succeeded. If the value is success, the workflow proceeds to run the analysis notebook. This leads to the analyze data task, which runs the analysis notebook. Now I'll run the workflow to see how these parameters operate together. Once the workflow completes, I can review the results for each task in the Graph tab, confirming the ingestion was successful and viewing the parameter values and data preview for the task. For the Analyze Data task, I can see the results of the analysis based on the parameters passed from the previous task, including breakdowns of the data. Finally, I can verify that the catalog, schema, and table were created successfully in the master catalog. Now that I've used parameters in notebooks and workflows, I can dynamically control execution, pass value between tasks, and build more flexible data pipelines. Find more videos in this series and additional resources on using Oracle AI Data Platform in the links below.